I'm Jay. This is Crooked Eye Comics. This video, this is going to be the top 10 worst DC movies of all time. Let me start this off by saying there probably could be 15 to 20 movies on this list. It's going to be a little bit different than the Marvel one, because the Marvel one, you have the 10th movie on my list. If somebody told me that was their favorite and it's number one, I can't argue with you. Each one of those movies are graded, in my opinion, in my top 10 Marvel video. You could go check that out. It's a previous video that I have up. All those movies are about a 9 plus on that whole list, from number 10 to number 1. Now this list, this is a little bit different. I have the 10th movie. If you told me this movie is your number one least favorite DC movie of all time, I can't argue with you. It was the most difficult thing to do, to sit here and piece together the order of this list. I could interchange everything except for number 1, 2, and 3. We'll get to those in a minute. But at number 10, I have Wonder Woman. Why? DC, you had the audacity to steal the script for Captain America all the way to the point of the actual main plot twist, the betrayal. Everything was down to the T. You need copyright infringement fucking lawyers at your door immediately. I don't know how that never happened. But that could be a whole video by itself, is Wonder Woman and how it stole Captain America. At number 9, I have Batman and Robin. Now this is George Clooney. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger as a really overacted Mr. Freeze. Out of this top 10 list, it really, I could have flip-flopped a lot of things, like I said. This is a watchable movie. The overacting just kills it. George Clooney was the worst Batman. No, I take that back. Ben Affleck is pretty bad, too. I don't know. It's a toss-up between them. But he's coming up. Foreshadowing for this video. He's coming up pretty soon. It's watchable, but that's about as good as I could say for it. It's just a bad movie. It's a bad movie. At number 8, I have the Man of Steel. Now, I think everybody didn't give this movie as much negative publicity as it should. His acting is subpar at best. He's the worst Superman that we've ever had. And that's me going back to, I don't really like watching old movies. I can't stand it. But if you go back to like the Adam West days of Batman and stuff like that, like that's still at least watchable to me. The old Supermans, they're okay. This dude is just hot garbage. Like, if I was a kid just now getting introduced to Man of Steel, pass. I'm going to be a fan of Batman. I'd rather be a fan of a cheesy Ben Affleck than this dude. So at number 7, I have Aquaman. This is disappointing to me because I love Atlantis and I love all the Greek mythology and all stuff like that. So he fits into my category of what I like. Jason Momoa. He's good in an action film, but his acting chops leave a lot to be desired. No villain. The villain was the Black Manta's worst villain probably that we've seen in my lifetime. That's 30-year span. Easily, it's up there. I'd argue it's number 1, but that's a whole nother topic for a video. There's not one good thing I could say about this movie, except that when the action scenes happen, and even that is just the CGI. With DC, you could see their CGI. With Marvel, it looks more realistic. Even though we know the CGI is there, I think it's because they pump more money into it because they're making more money at the box office, which would make sense. But it's like, if you're going to pump out just mediocre shit, you might as well not even pump it out. At number 6, I have Batman versus Superman. This meets a terrible Batman and a terrible Superman. Now, of this top 10 list, this is the only movie I did not finish on the whole top 10 list. I got about 35 minutes into it, fell asleep. It was so mediocre that I didn't ever rewatch it. So that tells you everything you need to know about that. If you haven't seen any of these movies on this list, this 20-second brief description of each video is better than the actual movie itself. So I'll fill you in with everything, and then you can just go about your business. At number 5, Constantine. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie. You got all the things that applied with Aquaman apply here. You have over or underacting, I don't know which one, with a lot of these characters. Mediocre acting. You have terrible villain. Just terrible concept. Like they find a way to take characters that are decent and just run them into the ground, and I don't get it. At number 4, I have Suicide Squad. Now, this isn't the new one. This was the first one, the one with Will Smith and all that. It's a bad movie. The action saved it. Jared Leto, I hope he makes a better Morbius than he did Joker, because his Joker is just, it leaves a lot to be desired. So that's a negative. Will Smith had maybe 2 talking lines in the whole movie. It was just subpar, to say the least. Now, these last 3, these are the crucial. This is like the creme de la creme of shit. Number 3 could be number 2. Number 2 could be number 1. Number 1 could be number 3. And number 3 could be number 1. That's how garbage they are. But the first garbage one, at number 3, is Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. I almost didn't finish this movie. I'm not a big fan of Green Lantern, but this is not a way to try to entice somebody that isn't a fan of it to be one. The story was all over. For me, not knowing much about Green Lantern and just the way that they shittily did it, I already had a bad taste in my mouth with Green Lantern. Now, you took the taste out of my mouth. So take that and put it over in the crap pile, because at number 2, we have Halle Berry's Catwoman. You had a litter box in her apartment. You had some of the worst acting. If we went and Googled right now, worst movie of all time, this is, as of last year, so 2021, it was in the number 1 spot. The CGI, you could see the CGI. My editing in these videos are lack thereof. My editing is better than what they did in this movie. I can't say one decent thing about the Catwoman movie. And I've tried. I can't. One of the worst movies ever made. History of mankind. But at number 1, I went to film school at CSU, okay? Not to do the editing and making films, but I went for the writing part of it. When you're writing a story, one of the first things that they teach you is you have foreshadowing. So in the beginning of this video, I foreshadowed my top 3 because I said, just wait until that comes. If you foreshadow something at the beginning of a movie, so I'm a little biased on this because of these reasons, but if you foreshadow something in the beginning and then put it at the end, the movie is supposed to be about that item. In the beginning of the movie, huge spoiler alert here. This is going to be the worst spoiler anybody's ever spoiled. But in the beginning of the movie, you had Harley Quinn talking about a breakfast, I believe sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. At the end of the movie, she gets the said sandwich. So technically, from a writer's standpoint, that whole movie, everything in between, you could throw it away. And it was all about just a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. So from a writing standpoint, I'm biased, and this is the worst movie in DC's history. But the content that was in between that was worse than a movie that would be just about a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. So congratulations to DC for making a shit movie. Now, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I got some more fun videos, quick ones coming like this. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. If you have, thank you. And we're just going to keep them rolling.